Hey, Tool Talk. I've got a really interesting video for you. I am going to show you the inner guts of the Bose surround speaker amplifier. This is, for some reason, you can't find anything on the internet about it other than just the specs on the back of the actual box. And what I've done today for Tool Talk is dig a little deeper into Bose amplifiers, and we bench test them and find out what kind of power they're actually making. So let me dive into the inside guts of a Bose amplifier for the surrounds. This is for both the Bose 900 soundbar that I have, and this is the surrounds that I have. I also have the 700 surrounds, so I have both of them. We are going to show you what's inside the Bose amplifier and what kind of power it makes. Stay tuned. All right, so what I have here today is a Bose amplifier from their surround, and they have this fits the virtually invisible 300 and the surround speakers 700. And what I've got is a couple of them here. I got an old used one that I don't mind beating up, or I really didn't want to take a saw to this or cut it, but I started working on this opening. There are no screws under the housing, and so this must be like glued on, much like you'd find a cell phone is connected and hot glued. I tried to use some heat to get this warmed up. This isn't beat up for me. This is actually a used unit. This is a brand new one. And I just wanted to show you that they're the same, whether it's the 300 or 700. So we're going to open this puppy up, and just give me a moment. So I'm going to try to break this seam, and I want to use a non-destructive method and a scientific method in my approach to how I open these things. So it's probably going to be a destructive method. I wouldn't do this with your stuff. That's why we're making a YouTube channel for you guys to see what's inside a Bose surround amplifier receiver. Tools over here. Got a pry bar here, chisel pry. See if this gets in there and gets me some room to crack it open here. Like I said, try not to be destructive, but they glued this together, and you're not going to get this apart with just heat. I already gave it a shot, so I had to break down the glue a little bit. And here we go. I'm trying not to break it, because even though I'm not using it, I want to see if there's something we can do to kind of keep enjoying this thing. There we are. So right off the bat, you can see there's an amplifier. There's, if you open up the subwoofer or watch some of the other videos that I have, you'll see that this is a common structure to the chips they're using today for amplifiers. They're kind of like a smaller ICE style chip. They're not like the old MOSFETs of when we were younger. And this looks like it's some type of, this is not connected to anything. So here's your power connection here. And you can see that it goes in here, and then your speaker out is here. And then you have an LED that changes colors here, which is very, very easy to see. This looks like an antenna of some sort. You can see there's a line array and it's it has a certain distance. When you're designing antennas, you design them by the instance or the the length of them, because the ways that they carry on are actually going to be picked up more readily on an antenna that's properly tuned. You think of it as a sine wave, and the digital technology still has to travel over a sine wave. So it looks like this is a some type of antenna. So if you're looking at your Bose rear speakers, this is the side that has the antenna. Here's the wire. Your antenna is going to be on this block. So if you want, you could probably set it up on its side. It's going to have more gain on this particular side here. As you can see, this is clipped together pretty well. It does not look like these are snaps. So you're not going to snap this thing apart. You're just not. You're going to have to cut it. And on this side where I didn't cut, you can see how it's almost been heat glued. Like they put it together and then they heated the plastic and it bonded. So you can see where this is where I cut, and this is how it's bonded here. You can see they bonded the two surfaces together. So almost like they're not serviceable. I picked this up on eBay and got it for a really cheap price. So I just wanted to do this to crack it open and kind of show you guys what we're looking at in here. And I'm wondering what this does. Why is this circuit board completely separate? Like, why does it have a daughter board for something that's not even being utilized on this side? The only thing I can think of is that these also use, they're using Bluetooth technology. This might be the Bluetooth board. I'm speculating a little bit here, but these may come from other commercial off-the-shelf parts from Bose. And what they're doing is they're using this part here probably throughout their manufacturing processes, and they'll include this Bluetooth board that they already have built and designed, and they incorporate it into the power. So this is our power supply section, and then this is our amplifier section. If you look on the back of this box, it actually tells you these are only producing 30 watts. So that's 30 watts to the 700, and that's 30 watts to the 300 series speaker. So whether you're buying either speaker, you're getting the same amplifier and the same receiver. That leaves a little bit to be desired, because the 700s I find are a little bit quieter because they're dispersing the sound and more. They're not a point source. Like the 300s just have one driver, and they're driving sound to your head. But if you do the 700s, they kind of spread the sound out to bounce it off the walls. It's using multiple drivers. So what I'm finding out is in the next videos that I come up with, I'm going to look into what the different drivers are providing you for the rear surrounds, and then how much resistance they have at DC resistance on a load. And then their impedance will move, obviously, when they're under load as a surround speaker. But I do know the smaller 300s are 5 ohms, and if the 700s are a lower ohm, they're getting a little more power out of the amplifier than the 500s or 300s. So I'm speculating right now, I'm getting ahead of myself. But if you guys are following along, you know what that is. So here's how you switch between left and right. So that's left speaker, right speaker, and there's a service dock here you can plug in there, and it can they can reprogram this. They can probably change frequencies, and there's some options here for people who are techs who can plug in a service connection to their equipment and then tell you quickly what's wrong with this and if it's serviceable. I doubt that they're going in and making changes to these boards and soldering things. I think they made them to be cheap and disposable. That's why I found that there's a website on eBay that sells these things by the gross, and you can buy like a bunch of these. But as I dive deeper into this, I want to do some more testing. So let's get to that part. Let's do some more searching around on this thing and find out what is in here. All right, so I went ahead and did some work for you guys so that I could figure out what I was going to talk to. Once I open this box, you can see here all kinds of good stuff in here. So what we have is a 2018-04 T2804. It's magnetic, which leads me to believe it's a choke, some type of audio or RF choke, and it's wrapped around the output of the amplifier circuit, and that is then ran out these two wires here to your surrounds. So I believe what they're doing is they're doubling these bridge tied load channels coming out of this amplifier, and they circle around this choke, and then they head out to your speakers. So what they've done is the next one I want to talk to is the TPA 3116. I don't know if we're going to be able to get enough picture in here of that. There we go. That is a Texas Instruments audio amplifier. It does 100 watts, 50 watts by 2, at 4 ohms. And this is, let's go ahead and show you this. So I took the case off. This is your Bose amplifier board. So you have power supply, and you have your digital analog circuits. There's some other supporting components in here. This is a Bose ETON ET866 amplifier, and this is in all your surrounds or your anything you have that's coming off of your Bose amplifiers that provide surround channels. And I know these boards are used for mainly right now the 300 and the 700 surrounds for your sound bars and upgrades in your Bose sound systems. So what they've done is you have a RISC ARM chip. So this one is proprietary to Bose. What that provides you is logic. It has a little bit of memory on there, like 256 kilobytes. It has a little bit of processing power. It's programmable. It's about $7 chip right now online on the market. This chip is what I think Bose used to identify its products so that it works only with Bose. You're not going to spoof or trick Bose speakers into working with any other system. They have their proprietary logic here. Then you have a Cirrus logic chip that is a DAC converter. This chip I'm really kind of pleased with. It's a 2-volt output, 24-bit, 192 kilohertz. So it's digital analog converter. So if you're listening to your music at anything over 192 kilohertz, this will not, it won't matter how clean your signal is. You're not going to get, today everybody talks about lossless audio. I don't care how lossless your system is. If your limiting factor is your board on your amplifier, your audio output amplifier, you're getting 192 kilohertz out of this chip. Then it converts it to this analog amplifier that is a Texas Instruments TPA 3116. This is 100 watts divided into 2 channels, so it's 50 watts bridge tied load. And then what they've done is the output on this also, if you look at the spec sheet for that chip, it's 15 watts by 2. So it's they're rating it at 30 watts at the lowest voltage, about 15 volts. So whatever this power supply is providing is the voltage for that chip. It also provides the voltages for the other components around it. And then, like I said, with the other board, the daughter board that's on here, this is probably a Bluetooth board because there's no other Bluetooth chips on here, and we know that it connects with Bluetooth through your soundbar. So once this is connected, this brings in the audio and supplies the digital analog converter with, Bose recognizes it with the ARM chip, and then it provides power and sound to the choke, and then the choke provides you with your 30 watts output. It's probably a very clean output as well as you can make it for 30 watts, and I think Bose has done a good job of providing it. I just would ask Bose, why don't you just provide another 20 watts output maybe? This thing's capable of 20 more watts. They probably could even do it through the service port and tell this chip to its power limiting through its components according to its spreadsheet. You could get 50 more watts out of this, so 50 watts total, and all the way up to 100. The other thing is the surrounding components, just for your general enjoyment, are Leon capacitors, and they're high rated. This one's 35 volts, so we know that whatever's coming out of there, it's not more than 35 volts because it would go over this capacitor. Input is 450 volts. They did that because if you have European mains, they're 220, and then you double that because sometimes you can have voltage spikes and other things where this will make up for suppression. That's probably a a arrestor like you would find in a power strip. So it's a really well-designed board. I give props to Bose. I just wish you would put more power in it. I don't know why you won't put just another 20 watts in there, make it 50 watts. But probably in today's society, we want to run everything low power and make it more energy efficient. And I figure they're doing that because Bose does their sound not based on how much power you can get out of it, but what it will give the customer in satisfactory sound. So, I mean, that's to each their own. I would want a little more power, but I think I've kind of hit everything on here. There is really nothing else for me to cover. This is just a switching power supply. So a lot of these components around here, they're just just all you need to know is a basic power supply. And then it's not going to overvolt 35 volts. So it's going to stay under 35. That chip at 35 volts does 50 watts. And so they're detuning it a little bit, and it's providing 30 watts wrapped around this choke and then sent out to your speaker. So that's all I really have for this one. But now you know for sure exactly what your Bose amplifier is providing you. If you guys like this kind of video, please click like and subscribe. I purchased this out of my own money to rip it apart. I was trying not to do it non-destructive, but I have, like I said, I have a couple of these laying around, brand new, because I'm going to do a lot more Bose reviews and comparisons. So click that like and subscribe if you like this stuff, because I'm going to do more Bose stuff in the future. But stay tuned. I do have other things I do, rebuilding equipment and Jeeps, cars, trucks, and the huge for my channel, Tool Talk. So, all right, you guys, appreciate it. Thanks for checking in.